Have you ever been to our nation's capital?
We have.
Yep.
Hi, welcome everyone to Around the World with Joshua and Alyssa, and hopefully today you find our hidden item. And we are going to tell you about Washington, D.C. We realize that's a place that we have been to before and have not yet told you about, and so today we are going to start with a couple places that most people probably think of when they think of Washington, D.C. And the first one is the U.S. Capitol. Now, some people, if they're not super familiar with Washington, D.C., might mix up the U.S. Capitol and the White House. They are both big white buildings, but the president only lives at one of them, and he doesn't live in this one.
Nope.
In fact, this is where a lot of our other representatives go and spend a lot of time, but probably not the president as much, as far as I know. Anyway, so this is the U.S. Capitol from the front, and there is like a large pool in front of it, and so this is just on the other side of the pool. Here's a picture from farther away. This picture is taken from the National Mall, and when I first went there, I didn't know what the National Mall was. I didn't know it was just a big grassy area. But it's this really long, I don't know, it's at least a half-mile long.
Yeah.
Of just grassy areas that people can go and lay in, get a tan in, play frisbee, play music, eat lunch with friends, just all sorts of things. But they also do like concerts and things and different events that go on the mall.
That makes sense too. Like if they want to have like a big political gathering or something right there, there's lots of space for people to be.
Have you ever seen anything interesting on the National Mall while you were there?
I think I ate lunch there.
Okay.
And these squirrels tried to steal our lunch.
Okay. I haven't seen anything particularly interesting while I was there that I can remember. However, when I was there in 2017, I did get to hear a concert in front of the Capitol, and you can tell which branch of the military it is by that flag there on the left, but I can't remember which one that is. If that's the Navy or the Air Force. I'm not good with my military flags.
Kind of looks like Navy, but I'm not positive on that.
Okay. Well, it was one of them, and some of you know better than I do, and you've already figured it out. But they had their band out there in front, and then they also had like a small choir, and they were playing all these patriotic songs, and it was really cool. I was there with a friend, and so we didn't know there was a concert going on, but we arrived, and we just sat there nice and close and listened to them play music. Here's a picture at night with that reflective pool there, and that's so cool to see all the lights reflecting off the water. And as you can tell, I just took a lot of pictures while I was there because it's a beautiful building. It really is. And so it's fun to photograph. Then, a couple miles away is the White House. And for whatever reason, I only have this one picture.
Well, it's kind of hard to see, though, because it's got a big fence around it. You can't get pretty close.
And that is a big reason why I don't have a lot of pictures, is just because you can only get, like, this is the closest anyone really can get. For obvious reasons, because the president lives there and they have to protect him. And so really the only ones who can get close ever are the people who work there, or like reporters and journalists and those kind of special people. So all the way around there's gates, and you can protest and do things in front of the gates, but they have security to make sure you don't get in the gates. So yeah, that is the White House, and I think you can get tours of the White House if you get special permission from like a national representative. I tried once requesting one from someone, I think here in Minnesota, and it was denied because I think they weren't in Washington, D.C. at the time that I was going to be there. But we both have a friend who, Daniel Vance, who did get to go with his family.
I have another friend who went too.
Okay. And I think they went bowling while they were there, and I was like, okay, well, nice for you. Maybe someday I'll get to do something like that.
My friends went at Christmas and got to see it all decorated for Christmas.
With the big tree?
Yeah. So they have pictures of there's multiple trees, not just one big tree.
Okay.
But they took a tour and did lots of pictures with the trees.
That's so neat. Well, someday, hopefully we'll send you or show you pictures of us there. But that may be a long time. Mm-hmm. Not till I'm president.
Well, that's a funny joke.
It's a possibility. I'm just not old enough yet.
Not quite.
Okay.
Okay. I have a new story to share today. And you can go get a snack.
Oh, okay.
And this story is an older story back quite a few years ago, but a lot of the things are still similar today just based on the country that this story is from. So, oops, I already had it on the front page so you can't see the cover. So, the story is called Yung An, and it's a story about a little boy who lived in China. So, let's learn a little bit about China. The mother walked in and she held up her baby boy and she said, "The gods have really blessed us this year. We have a beautiful baby boy." And the father smiled too and he said, "Yes, they have." And he was sitting at the table with his brother and sister-in-law, and they were all having some noodles with their chopsticks for supper. And he said, "Well, since the new year is coming up, we better make sure we smear some sweet syrup on our kitchen god." And his brother laughed. He said, "Yeah, you better, because if you don't, that kitchen god's going to tell all the bad things you've done over the past year. And you don't want that to happen. You want lots of good things to happen to you and your family, especially now that you have a new baby." "So what's his name?" asked the brother. And they smiled and they said, "Well, we know that there's a new government that's coming in, the communist government, and they've promised that there will be lots of peace and there will be enough food for everybody and they'll take care of everybody. So we are going to name our son Yung An because that means eternal peace. And so we're really excited about this new government coming and that they're going to give all of this to us and take care of us. And so we think this is just the right name for him, Yung An." So that's how he got his name. Now they're sitting at this table and they had a beautiful tablecloth on their table, and over here they had another one by their idol, and it's because they always had really nice things like that because they owned a silk shop. So they would buy the silks from across China and they'd bring them to their shops and put them into long pieces of fabric and sell them to people in China, and then they sold them all around the world. They had a great business and they were really enjoying what they were doing. But his brother said, "Well, are you sure you should have that much confidence in this new government? Are you sure they're going to do all these good things for us? I've heard that it might not be good for people who own a business, that the communist people won't really like that." And Yung An's father said, "Oh no, I think it will be really great. I think that they will take care of us and they made all these promises and it will be a peaceful time for everybody." Well, in a few years, the Communist Party did take over China, and Yung An now had a little brother, and he was beginning to school, and his little brother was still at home. But one day they were walking by and they saw his father's cousin and his wife. They said, "Oh, we're here to tell you goodbye because we've decided that we're going to move to Taiwan. The government here is not good, and we're not happy with the new communist government, and I've heard instead that I can own a tea plantation in Taiwan. So I've sold my silk business here," which was really hard because nobody really wants to buy a business in communist China where it's hard to make any money now. And he said, "I'm going to have this tea business in Taiwan, and I think it will be very good because I can have my tea and I can ship it all around the world to different places. So we're going to move to Taiwan, and don't you want to think about it too?" And Yung An's father said, "Oh no, the government is being very good to us. We're going to have so much peace and they're going to take care of us. We will stay here and continue our silk business." And so they left. His cousin left and they went off to Taiwan. They didn't hear from them for a very long time. Well, Yung An went to school. First he went to a nursery school, a preschool, and then to kindergarten and to the different classes, and he really liked school a lot. He liked going to the classes, he liked singing the songs, And they taught him lots of things about his country and how much he needed to love his country and take care of it. And he learned so many things about his country that it just made him love it so much, but he didn't really care for any other country in the world because China was a big country, and that meant that it needed to be the most important, and it was very important to his government to teach him all of those things that he needed to learn. They only had government schools in his area, so there wasn't even another option for a place for him to learn. And he was very proud that he lived in China. He also noticed that there were a group of older boys that would get together, and they had their own little communist club, and they would talk about all the things that made communist China the best place in the world, and they'd talk bad about all the other countries in the world. And so he was looking forward to the day when he would be old enough to actually be part of that communist club. And when he was a little bit older, he got to join. So they would have like meetings together, and they would talk about things that made their country unique. They would talk about wanting to be soldiers when they grew up to fight for their country. And they talked about all the things that made their country better than any other country in the world, and why they didn't want other countries to do better than them. They wanted to be the strongest and the most powerful of all. But it really wasn't teaching him good things. But he didn't realize it. He didn't know that there was a God. He didn't know that there was right and wrong other than whatever other people taught him. So he just did what he thought was right, and what the school was teaching him was right, and what all these kids in his club were teaching him. But really, it was a lot of lies, and it wasn't the truth. But he didn't know that. So even in his club, they taught him and his friends, and at school, that if they were to hear anything that was going against the communist country, they were supposed to come back and tell their teachers. So he always was listening, even when he was at home, because he wanted to tell if his family was doing something that was against the government, even if that meant the government was going to take his parents away. So one day he went to his family's silk shop, and their business was really bad because nobody had money anymore to buy silk. And he saw somebody was standing at the counter, and he was listening and realized the person at the counter wasn't really buying things. They were just talking to his dad. He thought, well, maybe I need to listen because maybe this is something I need to tell the teachers or the people in my group. So he listened closely, and the man asked, well, how's your business? And Yungan's father said, it's terrible. I can't sell my silks anymore. And it's even getting bad for food because the government has just asked all the people to work in factories, and so now there aren't people who are farmers anymore. And I can't sell my silk outside the country, and people don't have extra money to buy it, and so my business is not good anymore. The man said, well, have you heard from your cousin, or from your cousin, and how he's doing in Taiwan? His dad shook his head, no. Well, he's doing really well, and he wants to buy another tea plantation, but he would like you to come and work with it. What do you think? Do you want to go to Taiwan? It's free there, and you don't have to do all these rules, and they don't have a communist government. It's very different from here. And when Yungan heard that, he gasped, and his dad saw him. He turned and saw him there. He said, oh, you need to go get some water from the well, because we'll have some tea with our guest before he goes home. Now Yungan knew what he had to do. Tomorrow, when he went back to school, he was going to have to tell his leader that this guy was trying to convince his dad to go to another country. So he marched off to go fill up his water bucket, and he was getting really angry all the way, thinking about how this person was questioning that China was a good place to live and how they should go to another country. And he didn't want to do that. But he knew what he was going to do the next day. Well, he didn't even get a chance because in the middle of the night, his mother came and woke him up and told him they were going to leave. So they got on a train, and overnight, they took a long train ride in the dark, and he just looked out the windows and wondered, how was he ever going to get to learn more about communist China, and how he wasn't even going to get to tell anybody that somebody was convincing his parents to leave. He liked where he lived. He loved China. He didn't want to go to Taiwan. Well, when the train stopped, his family started walking, and they walked over a couple mountains, and his dad pointed and told them, we need to be very, very quiet. We're at the border of Hong Kong now, which we've talked about. It's kind of cool. We're at the border of Hong Kong, which is free China, but we don't have the right papers to go into Hong Kong, so we're going to have to sneak in. But if any of these guards see us, they'll shoot us." And Yungan thought, "Oh, well, they won't shoot me because I'm a communist, and I just need to make sure I let them know that." So you're going to have to come back next time to find out what happens.
Sounds like a good start to a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we're going to tell you about some other missionaries today. It's a different missionary story than the one Alyssa just told you. That's what I meant to say. These missionaries have served for many years overseas, and they are now back in the States. And their names are, there we go, Joe and Jerry Sue Lance, and they served in France. So here is a picture of them, and now I'm going to tell you their story. So they went to college at Faith Baptist Bible College.
Oh, that's our school.
Yeah, isn't that so neat?
Mm-hmm.
So in 1975, at missions conference at Faith Baptist Bible College, a missionary couple from France presented their ministry. And the missionary family was the Barnes. And so they're presenting, and although Joe and Jerry Sue had already been considering full-time ministry, they had never really considered ministry in France. They were thinking something here, locally. Mm-hmm. But after hearing about the Barnes ministry there, Joe sensed that God was calling them to France. Well, during the same week, Jerry Sue attended a workshop led by a missionary from Israel. And she sensed that God wanted them to do ministry to the Jews in Israel. Now, they knew that this was a problem because in the past, God had always led them to the same direction. So even though he had worked in their lives independently, it was always in such a way that they were thinking the same way. Well, this time was different. So they decided not to worry about the dilemma, but instead to pray and continue trusting God for the answer. 11 months later, during a Friday chapel at Faith, another missionary from France spoke, and it was during that chapel that Joe and Jerry Sue turned to each other and realized that God had given Jerry Sue the assurance that they were supposed to go to France to serve. So no longer was it France and Israel, it was both, we are going to France. So Alyssa's going to show you a few pictures from her time in France. Because, 40 some years ago, they didn't just have phones that you could take pictures with and, only so much film. So we are just showing you some pictures of France that Alyssa has. After 3 years of deputation, Joe and Jerry Sue departed for France in 1981. And they served there for many years before returning to the U.S. Some of their favorite foods in France include leg of lamb, cheese, bread, pizza, couscous, yucky coffee. Well, I guess they like it, but I don't. And they liked relaxed multi-course meals. I don't know what that's like in France, but it sounds really, really yummy.
Meals are a long time process, so that can make sense. Like, you can just go and sit for a long time.
Okay, then I think I would really like that more than most people. When asked about how the churches in France are doing right now, they said that gospel ministry is advancing at a slow pace, but it is advancing. And I think I've heard that from other people who work in France, that it's a hard work. Europe is not an easy place to try to share the gospel with people. They said the work is hard, but victories won are great blessings. They said that we can pray for them in the following way. Now remember, they are now back here in the States, living in Missouri. And again, this is another missionary couple that Jeanette got us connected with, their story. They said we can pray for them that they would still seek to evangelize, edify, and encourage. Even though they're not on the foreign mission field, these are things they still want to do where they are right now. And they are always in need of direction from the Holy Spirit and strength to carry on. They said that they want to finish well. And so you could pray for them that way, that they would be able to do those things and that they would finish well, that they would have the strength to do all that God has called them to do. Right now it's in Missouri. So that is Joe and Jerry Sue Lance, and we're thankful that they provided their story for us. I've never met them, or if I have, I don't remember it. But Jeanette knows them, and so we're thankful that they'd be willing to let us know how God worked in their life.
That's cool. Hope you enjoyed our new start to this set of 5. New missionary story and new people to learn about. Make sure you come back next time.
Yep, please do.
We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.